It's time for Weekly Pulse, your heartbeat to what's trending in sports. Welcome to Weekly Pulse. I'm your host, Mackenzie Salmon. We've got a football-packed show for you, including interviews from two legendary wide receivers, Johnson and Victor Cruz. For those of you looking to make some bets this weekend, we have Lorenzo's Locks. For our NBA fans, you're in luck because the NBA schedule has been released. But before we get to all that, let's talk college football, locks, and the NFL's wild week.
The Pittsburgh Steelers are the NFL's only undefeated team at 11-0, but just don't call them dominant. The Wednesday night victory, yes, Wednesday night after 3 postponements against the Baltimore Ravens, was too close for comfort for Mike Tomlin. The Steelers coach lamented the failed red zone opportunities, the drop passes, the big plays allowed by the defense. It almost sounded like they lost. But he knew Tomlin's team flirted with another game where it could have gotten away from them. On the season, the Steelers have had 6 of their 11 victories by just 7 points or less. Still in all, they are undefeated. Winning is the bottom line, but the message from Tomlin and anybody who's watching these Steelers is that if they are going to really compete for the highest honor of the season, they're going to have to play a little bit more consistently and play better against lesser competition. They struggled against Dallas. They almost blew it against Tennessee. And the Ravens, the severely depleted Ravens, gave them a run for the money. I guess that's hope for Washington up next for the Steelers. And to add injury to that insult, linebacker Bud Dupree, who's been having a phenomenal 2020 season, is feared to be done for the year with a torn ACL. That's what I'm hearing. I'm Jarrett Bell, USA Today Sports.
Week 12 was a high-wire act of wildness. Time for risers and fallers. Riser, Tennessee Titans. That was a statement win over their division rivals. I think Derrick Henry just scored another touchdown. I also think of the 8-3 teams in the AFC, they're easily the best of the bunch and have enough ammunition to compete with the Chiefs and Steelers in January. Faller, Las Vegas Raiders. When you're fighting for a wild card spot in a loaded AFC, you can't be losing to Atlanta, let alone by almost 40. This team screams 9-7, 8-8, looking from the outside in when the playoffs begin. Riser, NFC East intrigue. Both look like the clear frontrunners for the NFC East title this week. While the Giants own the tiebreaker and swept the season series, they have the tougher schedule ahead and injury concerns with their starting quarterback. Washington has the edge going forward. Faller, Arizona Cardinals. They were the dark horse darlings of the NFC but have now lost 2 straight. They're one D-Hop miracle Hail Mary catch away from being 5-6 and on a 3-game losing streak. Riser, Green Bay Packers. The NFC at times has felt wide open, but one team may have a Super Bowl checklist. Elite QB, check. Pass rush, check. High-powered offense, check. Getting hot and healthy, check. Aaron Rodgers is playing some of the best football of his life, and Green Bay may have the formula to run the table and represent the NFC in Tampa.
At least I didn't pick the Seahawks to cover, but there's only one way to go from here. Onward. I'm Lorenzo Reyes, and I've been covering the NFL for 7 years now, and every week this season, I'm going to hit you with the 3 bets I feel most confident in, my locks of the week. And those of you who've been following me here know just how much I love the Saints and how much I've loved their consistency. The Saints have dominated the Falcons, winning 5 of the last 6 in this series. The Saints are dominating, period, winners of 8 in a row straight up, and their last 4 against the spread. Their road favorites, giving 3, hammered this line. I'm taking New Orleans to win 28-20. Moving on, let's look at a team that is winning on Sundays, but not necessarily in Vegas. The Cleveland Browns are 8-3, but have lost 5 of their last 6 against the spread, and are 1-4 this year against the spread on the road. They are indeed traveling to see the King. The Titans have won 3 of their last 4, both outright and against the spread. The last 2 have been impressive, and Derrick Henry just might sneak into that MVP conversation. Cleveland's run defense is just above average, but Henry is a matchup nightmare. At home, giving 5.5, I think Tennessee takes it 28. Now, I'm looking at a team that I probably shouldn't be looking at. Kind of like that misshaped, bruised apple at the market, but hear me out. Sometimes those have flavor. The Lions are 4-7 against the spread and 4-7 overall. Historically, teams get a big boost in the first game after they fired a head coach. And I'm counting on Darrell Bevell to elevate the offense with DeAndre Swift hopefully back and healthy. Plus, they're playing the Bears. The Bears. The can't run a competent offense Bears. Detroit is on the road getting 3. I'm taking the Lions to win outright 24-21.
Not much of a shakeup in week 2 of the college football playoff selection committee rankings. They seem to be pretty locked into their top 4 right now of Alabama 1, Notre Dame 2, Clemson 3, and Ohio State number 4. The only thing you could really argue with in that ranking is Ohio State number 4. They've only played 4 games. And certainly if you wanted to put Texas A&M into that top 4 for now, because they've played more games, or even Florida, because they've looked really good and they've played basically twice as many games as Ohio State, I think you can make that argument. But the committee seems to be sending a pretty strong statement that they believe Ohio State's one of the best 4 teams in the country. And as long as they're able to continue undefeated, it seems like they're going to get in whether they win the Big Ten championship or not, if they're not eligible to play because they have not played enough games. That's certainly a possibility, but the committee likes Ohio State, understandable. They are very, very good. But a couple things that don't make sense to me in these rankings. I still think Georgia's way too high at number 8. I just don't think their wins have been good enough to merit them being at number 8. Iowa State up 4 spots to number 9. Honestly, Iowa State was not all that impressive. They did get a win over Texas. It was a good win, an important win for their program. But I don't know that it was worth moving up 4 spots. And then Oklahoma State at number 15, up 8 spots this week. They barely beat Texas Tech last week. That's the committee saying they made a mistake on Oklahoma State in their first rankings. But I just frankly don't see that as a top 15 team right now. They've got a couple losses. I don't really get what the fascination is.
Welcome back to Weekly Pulse. And now, let's hear from Texans legend Andre Johnson about his thoughts on the DeAndre Hopkins trade, the current state of the Texans, and more. You're with Crown Royal, which is actually one of my personal favorites. How's that relationship been with them?
It's been fun. It's been a great experience. I teamed up with them in their water breaks campaign. Just encouraging people while out drinking responsibly, just to take water breaks and that also supporting their local community.
Are you a straight whiskey guy, or do you have like a secret cocktail recipe you can give me?
You just give me a Crown, Apple, and Sprite.
You're a simple guy with the whiskey. So I think a lot of people would agree when I say that when people think of the history of the Houston Texans, you're probably the first person that comes to mind. How do you assess the current state of this franchise?
I would say I think they didn't meet expectations this year. You hate to be in a situation where you have to go through the process of hiring a new coach and a new GM. So, I just think right now, I think that's probably just the main thing now is just figuring out who that head coach and general manager is going to be to see what direction the franchise is going to go in.
Yeah. I think a lot of Texans fans were shocked and kind of mad when DeAndre Hopkins was traded. I want to know, what was your reaction when he got traded? Because I'm sure you guys are pretty close.
Yeah, I was shocked just like everyone else was. It was something, and you just really couldn't believe. It was just, my phone was ringing like crazy. I thought something bad had happened. Well, something bad did happen, but I thought it was like a real bad emergency or something. One of my friends, he was like, "Man, look at ESPN." And I cut the TV on, and I was like, "Wow." So, I just no one really knew what to say. It was just a lot to take in at the time. Yeah.
Did you have any advice for him when it all went down? Like, I know you said you were just as shocked as everyone else, but what'd you tell him when that happened?
We talked about it. He was actually anxious to get to Arizona. He really didn't want to leave here. But things happen, and he's very happy in Arizona. I talk to him a lot still. You can just hear it in his voice, when you talk to him. He's very excited about what they have there and the upcoming future of that organization.
So basically, if you were a GM or coach, you wouldn't have made that trade, is what you're saying?
No, I wouldn't have traded DeAndre. No, I wouldn't have. Once the trade happened, it just, everybody was just so mad about it to where it was just like, so now you have people like, oh, he needs to go and things like that. But I think too, the not having an off season has played a part in it also. So you have, guys not being on the same page. So you trade DeAndre and you bring in two other receivers that Deshaun has no chemistry with, and you have no off season. So now you have to try to figure things out on the fly. So I think that, the way all that played out, it just kind of all combined together.
Also, I don't know if you saw Will Fuller. He recently posted on Instagram that he was suspended for somehow the doctor gave him some wrong medicine or whatever. But have you spoken to him? What's your relationship like with him?
I haven't spoken to him since that has happened. I've actually seen Will, I think it was maybe like 2 weeks ago. But I'll definitely reach out. So I'm sure he has a lot of people blowing up right now. But just to keep them encouraged. Things happen, and you just have to keep moving forward. You can't let that one situation define your career. It's happened, and you just got to keep moving on.
This past week, the Hall of Fame finalists were announced, and this time next year, you'll be eligible. Is that something that's ever crossed your mind?
Yeah, I've thought about it. I have people bring it up to me more than I think about it. Because it's a process. At the end of the day, you have to wait, your 5 years or whatever. So I'm sure when I'm up for it, I'll think about it more, But I tell people, who wouldn't want to be in the Hall of Fame? Like, that's the best.
For sure.
We'll see what happens.
I think it's safe to say him, Peyton Manning, Charles Woodson, they'll strongly be considered for first ballot induction. But of the three, do you have any specific memories of playing against them and being like, wow, they're a Hall of Famer?
Well, I played against Peyton a lot because we were in the same division. I used to just sit on the sideline and just watch him. I mean, the way he, ran his offense and the things that he did, I just used to sit there and I used to be like, man, like, that's why he's the best. He comes in and he gets the job done and he makes it happen. I would say Peyton because I played against him the most and I got to see him.
Were there any memories of beating him where you were like, okay, I slayed the dragon. Thank you, next.
I remember the first time I can't remember what year it was. I remember the first time we beat the Colts. It was on Christmas Eve. That's one of the best Christmas presents I ever had.
When Weekly Pulse returns, Victor Cruz joins me to chat about his Super Bowl memories and his thoughts on the current state of the NFC East. Welcome back to Weekly Pulse. So Victor, as I can see behind you, you got the Pringles lined up like we said. Pringles got a new facelift, I read, and fans can join in on the fun right now during the holiday. So talk about what that looks like, and I also want to know your favorite Pringles flavor.
After 20 years, man, Pringles or Mr. P rather is finally getting a little bit of a facelift. He's finally getting the glow up that he deserved after 20 years. So they're changing the look of the cans, changing Mr. P's swag. And because of that, they want to give back to the people, right? Because the people are what made Mr. P for so long. So with that, they're starting a sweepstakes for 5 lucky people to win $1,500. go towards their glow up, whether they want new clothes, a haircut, a facial, whatever it is you want, some new kicks, whatever it is, you got $1,500. If you win the sweepstakes, 5 people will win the opportunity to win $1,500 towards their glow up. You can go to the Pringles Twitter page to get all the information behind that and all the hashtags you need to enter. And my favorite flavor is barbecue. I mean, everybody knows barbecue is the wave. Like, it is what it is.
You calling out my ranch ones that I told you I liked? Barbecue and ranch sound good together. They sound good together. I'm not gonna lie.
They're right there. They're neck and neck. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. So, Victor, I'm sure you can agree with me when I say this season has been crazy, to say the least. But one of my favorite moments this season was actually little Danny Dimes, his trip on the field. So I want to know, when you watched that, what was your reaction when he went down?
I distinctly remember I was in bed with my daughter, right? We're watching the games. We're watching the game. And I'm like, obviously it's towards the end. I'm on the edge of my seat, like making sure I'm like one eye open, trying to stay awake for this game. And I see him break and I'm like, oh, this is it. Amazing. And as I'm watching it, I'm like, no. I literally yelled so loud at my screen. My daughter was like, Daddy, you good? And I was like, this man just tripped and fell out of nowhere and I'm blown away, but it's all good. I mean, he made up for it the next week and had a nice touchdown run using his legs to get there. But that fall, man, it was not the greatest. Luckily, they scored on the end of that drive, thank God.
Yeah.
But that fall was not the greatest moment. I can tell you that right now.
And I mean, in all seriousness, jokes aside, he has his team competing for the division in his first full year as a starter. Do you think he's done enough to show that he's a franchise QB for the Giants?
It's tough, but I think he has. I think he's shown toughness. I think he's shown a tremendous work ethic. I think he's shown the humility and the demeanor you need to be a quarterback in New York City. I think he has all of those things. Obviously, from a production standpoint, he had a lot of things to face, right? Saquon being out very early, which puts all the onus on him to be great and to raise his level of play even higher to make up for the lack of running game in the earlier parts of the season. That's why you saw him turning the ball over as he's holding it, trying to make some things happen. And but once Wayne Gallman kind of stepped up and proved to be a viable running option, you saw all that kind of start to change, right? He's the last 2 games, besides the one he got hurt in, no turnovers, keeps the ball, they win the football game. I think he's starting to understand that the more you keep the football and the more you limit turnovers, the higher your probability is to win. I think if you look at Patrick Mahomes or even Tom Brady, maybe not the last couple games for Tom, but when they hold on to the football, they dominate time of possession. They make those big plays. They compete on third downs. And that's what's going to help you win in this league. And I think Daniel Jones is slowly starting to figure that out.
Yeah. The Giants are frankly the hottest team in their division right now. And even Colt McCoy is a solid backup. I want to know, in your opinion, will this season be seen as a disappointment if New York doesn't win this division?
No, I think because of all the circumstances, right? I think everyone in the league this year is getting a mulligan because of COVID and just the state of the world that we're in. Obviously, if they win a division, great. If they make it to the playoffs, great, amazing. But I think they understand that they've had some setbacks this year and that they have some voids to fill in certain sides of the ball in the draft moving forward and on to next year. So I think this year I think this entire league is just trying to make it through 16 games, healthy as possible, and then look forward to next year and try to get a fresh start on all this. But I don't think there'll be, I think the Giants are right where they should be right now with the new coach and kind of, with the talent level that they had. But I think now that they're in a position to win the division, you see a different team and you'll see a team that's ready to rock and roll down the stretch here. They're going to need some help. Obviously, the schedule down the stretch isn't too conducive for them or not the easiest, but I think they'll put their best foot forward.
Yeah. When you were with the team, the Giants in the NFC East were legit. And this year, I think you can agree it's probably the worst division in the history of football. It's so bad that it's good to watch, in my opinion. But for you, does it hurt to see this this division be what it is compared to what it was with you when you were there?
Everyone loves to watch a train wreck, right? That's the only reason we're tuning in. I think, yeah, I was just telling, I was talking to somebody, just telling them like the NFC East was the toughest division in football at one point. Like we were, up there with every week, every division game was like a battle, like, and for like a good 6 years or so, the NFC East came down to like that last game, right? That last division game, and all the bells and whistles, everything was surrounding that game. But yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's tough to watch that division. The winner of that division probably only wins 7 games maybe. So, it is what it is. I think you got to treat every year differently. Every year is a different year. And as soon as the Giants come out on top, I could care less what the rest of that division does.
Coming up after the break, we talk all things NBA. Stick around. The NBA offseason, if we can actually call it that, has come and gone, and it's now time to look at the 2020-21 season. Here are some key things to know. There will be a preseason, albeit a condensed one. Each team will partake in at least 2 games, but no more than 4. If you're someone who gets excited for preseason action, circle December 11th on your calendar when the games kick off. Here's where things get interesting. The NBA has decided to release the 2020-21 schedule in 2 halves. The first half will run from December 22nd to March 4th, and matchups will be released around the start of training camp, while the second half won't be released until later in the first. That half will stretch from March 11th to May 16th. So who plays who? Each team will face off with the teams within their conference 3 times, and those in the opposing conference twice, all adding up to a 72-game schedule. The NBA clearly hit on something with last season's play-in tournament, as the Board of Governors unanimously approved it for this season as well. The tournament will run from May 18th to the 21st before the playoffs tip off on May 22nd. One stress point for the NBA will be concluding the finals on their target date of July 22nd, one day before the start of the Summer Olympics. So will it all play out as planned? Can the NBA operate outside of a bubble which proved to be so effective? Let's all cross our fingers together and hope that it can.
LeBron James has reached an agreement on a contract extension with the Los Angeles Lakers, and this is what I'm hearing. James's extension is for 2 years and $85 million and kicks in next season, keeping him with the Lakers through the 22-23 season. Once Lakers All-Star Anthony Davis resigns with the franchise, this will give the defending champions their 2 stars for at least the next few seasons, and it should ensure the Lakers remain championship contenders. James is still playing at an elite level. We just saw that last season. He was second in MVP voting for 2019-20, and he won his 4th Finals MVP in October. And looking at the big picture, in 2023, James's son, Bronny, could be an NBA draft prospect if the NBA changes its age eligibility rules, meaning James and his son could have a chance of becoming the first father-son combo to play in the NBA at the same time if things work out. But James is on record as saying he would love the opportunity to be in the league at the same time as his son.
That does it for this week's episode of Weekly Pulse. By this time next week, we'll feature a whole new set of fantastic conversations you won't want to miss. Until then, I'm Mackenzie Salmon. Thanks for watching. Hey sports fans, if you want to see more videos like this, check out some of our other ones right here. And if you like what you see, make sure to hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for more from USA Today Sports.